Yay Networks.
13 has been my lucky number for a while. Like, it's always a sign of good things to come for me.
This is 13, a Taylor Swift fan podcast, breaking down every song, every Easter egg, every era, and every theory. Hosted by the biggest Swifties, Nick Adams, Ana Szabo, Amy Nichols, and Lacey Gee.
Welcome to 13, a Taylor Swift fan podcast. My name's Nick Adams.
I'm Ana.
Amy. And I'm Lacey Gee.
And today we are breaking down track number 2 on the Tortured Poets Department. The Tortured Poets Department.
Title track.
Title track.
Title track.
This song was written by Taylor Swift and Jack Antonoff. Mm-hmm. And it's a lovely song. This was definitely a grower for me. At first, I was like, okay, I like that song. But then the more and more as I listened to it, it quickly rose up to the tops of my favorite on this album. I just really love it. Mm-hmm. It's great. And it just sonically, it just sounds great.
Mm-hmm. And I do really like when there is a title track, because most of her albums have title tracks. We have Fearless, the song, right?
Yes.
Speak Now, Red, Lover, Evermore, and the Tortured Poets Department. So the ones that don't have title tracks would be Taylor Swift, also known as Debut in the fandom, Folklore, and Midnights, and Reputation, I guess. But I like it. I like when there's a song by, like, I like having a title track. I think it makes it fun.
The only thing that I don't like is whenever you have to tell Alexa over and over, Tortured Poets Department, the song, or the anthology, or the album. Yeah. That's the only thing I don't like whenever she doesn't listen.
So what does she play? Like when you say, like, oh, play the Tortured Poets Department.
Just starts from the beginning.
It'll, just pick some song. Or I don't know, because normally I'm very specific because I have a love-hate relationship with Alexa. She acts like she doesn't know what I'm saying, but I know she knows what I'm saying.
She's just a bee.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Nick, that this song was a grower for me as well. And now I find it being one of the ones that gets stuck in my head the most often.
Oh, yeah.
Just the parts like, straight from the Tortured Poets Department. Yeah.
And this was also one that I find myself listening to it and then immediately listening to it again. Just putting it on repeat a couple times.
And I like it more now that I understand it a little bit more after our research. I mean, I like every song on the Tortured Poets Department. Robin is a little bit of a skip for me just because I don't relate to it as much, but it's still sweet. I don't always listen to that one. But besides that, I mean, I love every song, including Robin. I want to give Robin some love too.
Robin over here catching strays. Robin's like, hey, I'm like 30 songs away.
Hey, do you remember when I ranked all of, what album was it? Was it Midnight?
Midnight.
Yeah, and I said what I put at the bottom. We'll never repeat it.
It was Paris.
Oh, dang it.
Yeah, that was funny. That was funny.
I had forgotten what we're supposed to do.
So to kind of go back chronological order, because the Tortured Poets Department is, as we know, the name of the album. When we first heard that, like that it was the name of the album, I think people immediately connected it to Joe Alwyn's group chat.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember that? So during a December 2022 conversation between Joe Alwyn, Paul Mescal, they talked about how they have a WhatsApp group chat with another actor, Andrew Scott, and it was called the Tortured Men Club. And this was kind of around the same time that Taylor was writing You're Losing Me, like it's at December 2022.
Yeah.
And then when we found out that the Tortured Poets Department was the name of the album, you know, people started to like kind of piece that together, that someone from Joe Alwyn's team, like from his camp, one of his reps, even like in an interview, said it's undeniable that the name of her upcoming album is in reference to Joe's WhatsApp group chat. Taylor knocked him for the name of this when they were together. She didn't want people to think it had anything to do with her. So when he spoke about it, she was, of course, bothered. But then I think that's so funny because it actually is not in relation to that.
Right.
Well,
Like,
the song is, yeah.
the song itself, I think, has a different muse. And so for it to kind of have that, I think ultimately just ends up being kind of funny.
And because we thought the whole album was going to be this sad situation about Joe Alwyn, we thought at the time that You're Losing Me was just the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
And it was going to go down from there. And then to find out more about the album, and it's like, he was a Muse for a couple of songs, but not that many. Not like we thought was going to happen.
Yeah, Taylor was going through a lot more that we just didn't know about.
Yeah.
I really enjoy that the very beginning of the lyrics for this song, at least to me, correct me if I'm wrong, but she's just making fun of the guy that she's writing about.
I think
To
the
me,
whole song.
The whole song, it's just immediately
Sarcasm.
there's sarcasm, and she's just taking some shots at this guy. And yeah, in my mind, Tortured Poets Department, we're going to be just so serious and everything. And then the title track is, I'm making fun of you.
Yeah.
I am calling you out because you are ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it's just so funny to me.
I agree. And I think like first, granted, we were given 30 tracks. It was like, it was a lot to take in. And I think it kind of took a little bit for people to realize that. It took a little bit for me to realize that, that's like, yeah, this entire song she's poking, she's making fun, which I think is hilarious. And we are, of course, alluding to Maddie Healy, right?
Right.
Unless
We have to
anybody else.
assume. No, I
That's
think
what
have to
we
assume.
all assume.
That's what we all assume. So for those that are unfamiliar, and I think part of what made the Taylor Swift Maddie Healy situation so shocking is I think a lot of people didn't realize that they've actually known each other for like a decade, and they've run in the same circles, and they've had like kind of this like, I don't know what you
Work together too.
call it. Yeah, work together. They run in the same. They have same friends. Jack Antonoff like creatively works with both of them, and so. But that like dates back to like 2014, and I think when it kind of all came to light now, I think it was just very shocking because either people forgot or some people just didn't know if they became fans more recently. So I do have just kind of like a basic timeline of Taylor Swift and Maddie Healy times that they met and things like that, because I also feel like to understand why their most recent fling affected her so deeply, I think you kind of have to understand the depth of it and how it extended in so much time.
Yeah.
Right.
Does that make
And
sense?
the epilogue and the prologue. I mean, she definitely touched on it there, all the love bombing and stuff and all the
Mutual self-harm, all of that. Yeah. And I think she referred to this as cardiac arrest, right? It's because she said it was house arrest and cardiac arrest. House arrest, I think, being potentially the situation with Joe, and then cardiac potentially being the situation with Maddie. In my head, again, assuming. Taylor has not said any of this like verbatim. This is all under assumption from us. So do you want to just kind of like a backbone timeline?
Let's hear it.
So Taylor Swift and Maddie Healy initially met back in 2014. That's 10 years ago, which is insane. I still, in my head, still think that's like 6 years. You know what I mean? Like you still think like I still do the math from like 2020. But anyway, 10 years ago.
We're frozen in time.
Yes. So Taylor attended a 1975 concert in November with Selena Gomez and Ellie Goulding. And then she even posted about it with the caption, if you want to find love, then you know where the city is, which is lyrics from the song The City by the 1975. And then a few days later, Taylor was out wearing a 1975 concert t-shirt. It's this really cute black like tank top looking shirt. She was wearing it with a skirt. Fun fact, I bought that exact same shirt.
Whoa.
Because Taylor Swift wore it, and I went to a 1975 show and I bought the exact same shirt. So yes, I have always been influenced by Taylor Swift. And then in the same month, Maddie Healy wore a 1989 t-shirt at one of their shows. So they were like wearing each other's merch, right? And so because of that, then rumors started about them potentially having some sort of like fling. Oh, she's wearing his merch. He's wearing her merch, whatever. And he was even asked about if he would ever date Taylor in an interview. And he said, she's a sensation. I wouldn't say no. And then she was also at this point in time, she was doing interviews about how she was really happy being single. Because this was, again, like kind of 1989 era. December 4th, she went to another 1975 show, this time with Carly Kloss and Lily Aldridge, which we've all seen the infamous kind of like footage from that.
This is the concert.
We've all seen the footage from that. And then there was a bunch of rumors also about Taylor Swift and Carly Kloss. And then a few days later, that's when Taylor posted on Twitter, she said, as a 25th birthday present from the media, I'd like for you to stop accusing all of my friends of dating me. #thirsty. In my head, I think that was in reference to both the rumors of her and Carly and the rumors of her and Maddie, probably. So then in January of 2015, Maddie did another interview kind of just shutting it all down. He said, it's fake, like it's farce. We met each other. We exchanged numbers in the same way a lot of people in this world do. We spoke occasionally. He said, she's the biggest pop star in the world, and I'm in Australia. There's no relationship happening. It's just crazy how people just so easily buy into that. Then a month later, they were at a party for Universal Music Group, or a Universal Music party. There was a bunch of artists there. Calvin Harris was there. Ooh. Spoiler alert for what happens later in 2015.
Okay.
We'll get to that later. March of 2016, so a year later, Maddie Healy was talking about this whole like rumored affair in an interview. And he just kind of called it a flirtation. He said, I don't do anything else besides music, right? So it doesn't leave a lot of room for me going out, hanging out with someone. So the one time I did have a flirtation with a girl, it ends up going everywhere. I mean, I got on E! News and people were like, who's Maddie Healy? And then he went on to say, if I had gone out with Taylor Swift, I would have been, fucking hell. I'm not being Taylor Swift's boyfriend. You know, he said, F that. That's also a man thing. It's demasculating, an emasculating thing. So then there was a whole bunch of uproar about that, right? A little bit after that interview was published, he tried to clear the air. He wrote an open letter saying that his comments were taken out of context. He said, you know, ever since she came to my show in December of 2014, I would say that 90% of journalists that have interviewed me always ask about her as a person or what our interaction was like. I have said on countless occasions that I found her to be one of the most gracious, hardworking, creatively gifted, and beautiful women that I've ever had the pleasure to meet. I have a lot of respect and admiration for her. Why would I not?
You know, some of those quotes there towards the beginning, it's giving the beginnings of the smallest man who ever lived.
Yes. Agreed.
We're kind of giving a peek.
Oh, you mean like red flags?
Yeah.
Yes. And then he went on to say, I didn't even date Taylor, but the media's brutal obsession with her meant that even a guy who didn't date her has been so battered by their never-ending questions, being like, oh, there was a rumor that we dated and now y'all can't like let it go. So he was kind of already
over it.
Yeah.
And I mean, it just goes to show that all the rumors about Taylor do affect those around her a lot too.
Yeah,
when
why,
the media, when there's constant speculation, it's not just Taylor that's catching heat for it. There's fallout everywhere.
Yeah. So again, this was like 10 years ago. More recent, around Midnights, there was rumors that there was going to be a 1975 collab on Midnights, and then Maddie said, fake news, that's not real. But then he turned around and was like, actually, I was working on something, it just got cut. So I don't know what to believe.
I'd say don't believe that guy.
But okay. And then
also there was speculation around that time when Midnights came out, when I guess maybe the news had just broke about her and Joe, because we didn't know that her and Joe Alwyn had broken up until they said it. And then we went back and looked at the album and was like, oh my gosh, when was this written? When did it happen? Well, in Bejeweled, she says, and when I meet the band, they said, do you have a man? And I can still say I don't remember. And then 1975 had a shirt that said the band in quotation marks.
Yeah. Oh, like when I'm with the band.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because then that's kind of when, like, as fans just only getting the public knowledge, that's when kind of the timeline gets a little, we don't know what exactly was written when or things like that. But if you remember, in January of 2023, Taylor Swift surprised the crowd at the London show of the 1975. And that's when she performed Anti-Hero for the very first time. And she did a cover of their song, The City. Mm-hmm. That's when she was wearing that, like, really sparkly, like silver looking dress, and it was just like unbelievable. Like it was a total surprise and a total shock at the time that she did that. And then April of 2023, so just a few months later, that's when we had the official news about Taylor and Joe breaking up. And then it was May of 2023 when Maddie Healy attended the Eras tour in Nashville. He also performed with Phoebe Bridgers as an opener when he was in attendance.
Yeah, when he went wearing like a skeleton shirt.
Yeah, because I think that's what her band wears.
Okay.
Yeah. And then in that same month, May 11th, that's when there was photos that were leaked of them holding hands at that like private club
like
or
a
whatever.
Restaurant, like a rooftop.
It was like a rooftop like restaurant. And then a few days later, Maddie went to the Eras tour again in Philadelphia. And then a few days after that, that's when we saw them leaving the Electric Lady Studios. Remember when she was wearing like the purple NYU sweatshirt? So cute. Sold out immediately. And then June 5th of 2023, so just a few weeks later, their breakup was confirmed, that Maddie and Taylor were done. And then I think like kind of the reaction to all of that, at least from the fan perspective, I feel like we'll kind of touch more on that in But Daddy, I Love Him. So we will refer to that in a later episode. But also important to note that just a month after their breakup was confirmed, that's when a certain football player attended the Eras tour in Kansas City. So another spoiler alert. And then April of 2024, so a year later, that's when we get the Tortured Poets Department. But I feel like it's just kind of important context to know that they had, you know, this history, this kind of like rekindled ship, professional potential, you know, relationship as well, to just kind of fully understand why. Because there were some people when the album first came out that they were like, oh my God, why is she writing so many songs about this like 5-week fling? And it's like, no, it's a lot. It's a lot deeper than that.
It's
Well,
been
it's the
a
same thing with
years
Jake
long.
Gyllenhaal, and she said it in interviews before that you might date someone for years and then not feel inspired to write about it.
Yeah.
She can do whatever she wants.
Yeah.
And
She's
there
an
was
artist.
more stuff, strange stuff around her and Maddie Healy, where they were both saying during a concert, like mouthing, "I love you," you know who this is.
I kind of bury that in my like the back of my head.
They did that at 2 separate concerts, just mouth that. And I don't think at the time when Maddie did it, I don't think we knew who he was talking to. But then whenever she did it, we were like, oh, okay,
There
I
you
think that
go.
was back and forth. And then it was during this time where she said, "I'm the happiest I've ever been." That's
Yeah.
whenever she said that during the Eras tour,
Yeah.
because she was already getting backlash because of things that Maddie Healy had said. And she was trying to squash the rumors or get people off her back, like by saying, "This is the happiest I've ever been," because ends up he was love bombing her and making her a bunch of promises that he didn't intend on keeping. So for someone to want love as much as Taylor Swift has always wanted it, and then you have this dream guy come up that you've already had a relationship with, and now it seems like it was meant to be me and you this whole time.
Oh yeah.
And then he's telling you everything that you want to hear. Talking rings and talking cradles. I mean, I'm going to marry you and I'm going to put a baby in you. And Taylor's like, yeah. And all of her friends are like, I get it because y'all are both crazy. And everybody was willing to accept it. And then he just dipped like the coward that he is.
And, you know, I wonder how much also just all the speculation and hubbub and fervor over this relationship and people speculating, not just because it was Taylor Swift, but also because he's not really her typical type. It seems like he looks a lot different. She's normally dating the clean-cut dude, and he's a grungy dude. He's a little greasy. He's got the long hair. He smokes a lot. He's hammered on stage all the time. It's just a different vibe that we haven't seen her with
He's
before.
the tortured artist.
He is. He is the tortured artist.
But sometimes, Nick, your type doesn't work out. So then you wonder if you need to try another type.
Great point.
This type hasn't worked for me. So I'm going to venture out of my comfort zone and see how it works here.
And I wonder if, because he's not the typical type, that's one of the reasons why maybe they didn't have a longer term, more serious relationship in the past. She goes back to dating someone who is more her type, that, you know, they look better in photos together, they're better height matches or whatever it is. And then she's like, okay, now I'm going to give this guy a chance because I
Yeah.
hadn't taken it seriously before, maybe.
And I feel like he's also the type to, since he is this like tortured artist, if you will, you know, like, oh, we're both crazy, only we get each other. Like, I could kind of see him, like, you know, in her ear being like, but we're soulmates. Like, only you and I get each other, you know, like that kind of, because I feel like that's kind of what she's making fun of in the song.
Yeah.
The Tortured Poets Department.
And I kind of get a similar vibe with someone. I don't want to shock anyone. I'm going to say John Mayer. I'm sorry I had to say John Mayer. But listening to Jessica Simpson's audiobook, where she had a long relationship with John Mayer, she wrote something about John that I kind of get the similar vibes with Maddie Healy. John was in and out of relationships with Jessica Simpson, and he ended up saying at one point was, going in and out and building up my emotions translates to art. So it was almost as if he was using a woman, just any relationship, to build up, to get these emotions and feelings, and then be the tortured artist himself and would write about those feelings.
Gotcha, yeah.
Whether he was 100% into the relationship or not. And so I wonder if Maddie's the same way. He love bombs. He's building himself up, knowing it's probably not going to work out. But then he can write about it. He can feel tortured because he went through a breakup. I don't know.
I don't know the 1975 well enough.
I don't either.
Yeah. But he does seem to be that kind of character.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and he's very into like performance art, and there's always a deeper meaning behind what he's doing on stage. Like, remember when he was like eating meat on stage? It was like some commentary about something, and like even I saw him at a show once where like I thought he was very, very drunk on stage. That I was like concerned. I was like, is he okay? And then like the second half of the show, like it was all a facade because it was part of the show. Like, I don't know why, but I'm sure there's an artistic reason behind it. So it's like that. I think that's kind of always been his MO of like, not everybody has to understand my art in a way, which would mean that he's coming straight from the tortured poets department.
Are we so dumb that we don't understand his art?
We don't.
The public doesn't get it. They don't get it. They're so stupid.
Yeah.
Well, but that's also why he's butthurt and couldn't be with Taylor Swift, because people understand her art and they don't understand his art. So she's a global mega superstar and he's a tortured poet that people don't understand. But it's fine. I don't need people to like me. But I couldn't be with Taylor Swift because she's more successful than me, and that's demasculating or emasculating. Which is it, D or E?
He said in that quote he actually said both.
Okay.
He probably doesn't know either.
Should we start getting into some lyrics here?
Yes.
Okay, she starts off by saying, and I love this because she's just taking shots right away.
Right out the gate.
Right out of the gate. And it took me a little bit to understand what she was getting at here.
Yeah, me too.
It took me till last night. That's why people are saying, that's why I was saying I like the song more now that I understand it.
When you understand her humor.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so before we get into the lyrics, in my head, I picture Taylor singing these lines while rolling her eyes.
Yeah.
And doing like a side-by-side mocking motion.
Yeah.
So she says, "You left your typewriter at my apartment, straight from the tortured poets department. I think some things I never say." Like, who uses typewriters anyway?
It just kind of is like, I feel like it's like childish mockery of like, I don't know, hypothetically, like let's say you came in wearing like a t-shirt with a clown on it. It's like, where'd you get that? The clown convention? It's like that kind of like joke, like, oh, your typewriter, where'd you get that? The tortured poets department. Which then in turn I think makes it even funnier that the entire album is called the tortured poets department. Like, there's a layer of humor behind that, and I think we don't appreciate it enough.
We need to.
So who does use typewriters anyway?
Pretentious people.
There's been photographs of Maddie Healy bringing something in a big bag to Taylor Swift, and it was a typewriter.
Right. You can tell it's not a bag packed of clothes because
the way he's carrying it.
Well, you can tell it's like something hard inside. It's like a boxy something inside this bag.
And also, fun fact, who uses typewriters anyway, that's what they're using during the Man performance on the Eras tour. And some people look at it now and was like, is that alluding to the tortured poets department?
Mm-hmm. That's funny.
But Maddie Healy himself has spoken out about typewriters and why he likes to use them.
It's not that there's any kind of like romance to having a notebook, but I really like typewriters as well. I don't have one with me because that is really impractical. And the thing is with typewriters and writing with pen to paper, there's a kind of an element of like commitment that goes with the ceremony of it. Therefore, it requires you to concentrate a bit better. So I think it's important to have a book. So it's mainly like stories that I write about my dreams of being in love with other pop stars.
So you left your typewriter at my apartment. Also, you left your commitment at my apartment because that's why he likes typewriters, because you're fully committing to what you're typing out. You can't go back and erase it. You'd have to white out it. It's not like, it's not like typing something out on a keyboard and you can delete it, or writing something in pencil and erasing it. You're committed to it because you've typed it out and it's done. There is no backspace on typewriters.
Yeah, that's great.
And I wonder with this line when she's saying, and I think some things I never say, like who uses typewriters anyway, is she thinking that while she's in the relationship and she can kind of start seeing some things that just aren't adding up or don't sit with her right? Like,
Like there's a red flag and she's holding her tongue.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
she's
Right.
not free to be like,
Well,
that's
and I think the lines that follow kind of explain why, right? Because you're in self-sabotage mode, throwing spikes down on the road. Like, she wants to say it, but she's not going to make a joke in this moment where he's clearly, like, in self-sabotage mode.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I feel like she kind of reads the room. Like, she wants to make this joke, but she's like, maybe I just won't.
yeah.
And so in this next line is, I'm wondering if she's singing about the things she's seen in her whole long-term, 10-year plus relationship with Maddie that's kind of just coming to a head when she's actually in a more serious relationship. She says, like Anna just said, but you're in self-sabotage mode, throwing spikes down the road. But I've seen this episode and still love the show. So she's saying, like, I've seen these things all before, but now that we're spending all of our time together, there's just some glaring things that just aren't sitting right with me.
Yeah, I think potentially, like, especially if you kind of have this back and forth relationship for a long time. I also did see somebody on TikTok refer to just kind of it could, you know how she's in exile. She said, I think I've seen this film before and I didn't like the ending. In this case, by referring to it as an episode instead of a full film, it could just kind of mean like a situationship instead of a full-blown movie or a full-blown film, you know, which I thought that was really interesting because I didn't think about that before.
Yeah, me neither.
Also, in The Smallest Man, she says, you're still performing, and this kind of gives me performing vibe. She's seen this episode and still loved the show. She still loves him despite the tantrums that he's throwing out on the road and everything that he's doing self-sabotage. She still accepts him anyway because who else decodes you?
Right. And who's going to hold you like me? You know? Who's going to know you if not me?
One thing that I know, the second episode in a row that I have to leave in the middle of the episode.
I'm sorry.
My
No,
day
I'm
job,
sorry,
my day
Nick.
job calls.
I know.
Yeah,
I gotta
know.
go.
Thoughts that you want to put out there about the song, though, before you go?
I really like it, and I'm really glad that Taylor was able to get this off her chest.
Agreed.
Because
get it off her desk.
get it off her desk. It seems like so much of this album is kind of like word vomit. It's just like, I have to get these emotions out. I don't care what anybody thinks of it. I'm not trying to please the critics or even my fans. And this seems like this is one of those that has been writing itself for 10 years, and she just had to get it out.
Yeah.
Because this thing, you know, she's wiping her hands clean of this, and I'm moving on and hopefully not looking back. That's what I get from this vibe.
So like Nick said before he left, and who's going to hold you like me? Who's going to know you if not me? Which reminds me of, what song is it in Reputation where she's like, do the girls back home touch you like I do?
Delicate?
And no, they don't touch you like I do. I laughed in your face and said, you're not Dylan Thomas. I'm not Patti Smith. This ain't the Chelsea Hotel. We're modern idiots.
That, I think, is just boom, like, okay, I guess to backtrack, who are Dylan Thomas and Patti
Right.
Smith, right?
Creative icons.
Creative icons. Dylan Thomas was a Welsh poet who lived from 1914 to 1953, passed away at the age of 39. One of his best known works is a poem titled Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night, which is an extended metaphor about standing up to death and holding on to life. He was known for his charm and his drinking.
Yeah.
Dylan Thomas there's a biography about him, and a quote from that says, Dylan Thomas is legendary for his crazy life as for his literary genius. So, highly regarded poet.
Yeah, I saw a lot of emotional poetry and his turbulent personal life. Yeah, is what I found. And Patti Smith, American singer. I mean, among many other things. She was a songwriter, poet, painter, author, photographer, and had a debut, funny enough, in 1975.
Oh, really?
Yes, weird, right? Coincidental.
Whoa.
Mundane Shoulder 6 on Reddit said, I'm not Patti Smith, you're not Dylan Thomas, feels like an update of White Horse for what she wants now that she's grown out of this fairy tale thing.
Oh.
She's not only telling the guy in the song, you're not talented, she's saying, let's not be the kind of artists who make self-destructive, tortured nature central to our art, which invites everyone to look at what a mess we are.
So that debut album that I was talking about, 1975, or that she had in 1975, is called Horses.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's weird.
Oh, look at that. Yeah, and I think it's also just kind of that like call out of if you call yourself a tortured artist, are you a tortured artist? You know? Like I feel like that's kind of what she's saying, like don't compare yourself to one of the greats. Like I feel like other people have to compare you to the greats. You can't do that yourself, you know?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I feel like, that you're not Dylan Thomas. I'm not Patti Smith. Like we're not these highly regarded, legendary, poetic people. Like we're modern idiots. And then I also did search up the Chelsea Hotel on why it is so legendary. So both Dylan Thomas and Patti Smith had residence at the Chelsea Hotel. A lot of other artists had also lived there at one point. Andy Warhol, Bob Dylan, Leonard Cohen, Mick Jagger, Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, Mark Twain, Patti Smith, among others. It says the hotel has been a retreat for artists and writers. Some say that the hotel helped create a creative culture that influenced art history, literature, and popular culture. So Taylor's basically being self-deprecating and saying that, like, we are not these legendary artists who live in this iconically artistic, inspirational hotel.
Yeah.
We're modern idiots.
Which I think is an important note leading into the next verse. You know, she's making fun of herself. So,
Yes.
you know.
I do love the way someone worded this. They said, the song isn't just about new relationships, but the exciting drama of a relationship between two creatives. You legit think you're Patti Smith and Dylan Thomas, but you're not. You're two losers with a Squarespace and a SoundCloud. The beautiful part of the song is the self-awareness Swift has of knowing that they're not these tortured artists. They're just modern idiots. Yeah. It's a mix of a casual fling, but also something that's way too intense and the way only creatives are.
Yeah.
So I thought that was great. And I mean, Taylor says it herself. We're modern idiots. We're not these two icons that you want to make us out to be.
Which is also funny because in my head, Taylor is this legendary creative writer, poet, you know?
But everyone who talks about her in her personal life says she doesn't act like that. She doesn't act like she's somebody. She's just your average person making a meal for their friends or baking cookies or whatever.
Very humble, down to earth. Yeah.
Or like the cool aunt, like she is with Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. I just read how the kids for the longest time didn't know that she was this big superstar. They just thought like, oh, she sings for fun. And then they heard, I guess it was Midnights, and they were like, that's Auntie Taylor? That's Taylor? She does this for more than just fun? I didn't realize like she did this for a living or anything.
Yeah, I also saw someone kind of make the same, like conclude to the same idea with Robin, the one that you skip. About how if it is written inspired by Robin, Aaron Dessner's son, somebody was like, you know what, her close collaborators, her close friends, those kids are probably some of the only people in the world that don't see her as like, you know, this mega superstar. Like they only know her as like Auntie Taylor or whatever. And so like in the song Robin, like she wants to like preserve that like very genuine innocence of like, you know me for me, like I don't want to crush you with the reality of the world. Yeah. You know, I saw somebody point that out being like, yeah, her friends' kids are probably some of the only people that like, you know, in the world that don't, everybody in the world knows Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
So.
Two more things about Patti Smith and Dylan Thomas. I like the way someone else worded this too. They said, Patti Smith is who you invoke if you want to talk about a woman on stage who is absolutely magnetic and a poet with a capital P, which is Taylor. I mean, that's describing Taylor exactly, in my opinion. And they said, Dylan Thomas is who you invoke if you want to talk about a romantic, self-destructive poet who had the talent to back it up, but had absolutely no self-care skills, who made everything too much.
Ouch.
Yeah. And then Patti Smith has responded to Taylor Swift, name-checking her on this album. And she said, this is saying, I was moved to be mentioned in the company of the great Welsh poet Dylan Thomas. Thank you, Taylor.
Yeah. And I think I read that back in 2018, 2019, maybe, give or take. Patti Smith did talk about Taylor in an interview, talking about how she's treated unfairly by the media, because it was like, why do people think that just because she's this mega star that she's like not authentic? Like, she was like, are we in this world where we're battling to see who's more authentic than someone else? Like why? And so I don't know. I mean, I guess I don't know if they've ever like talked or anything. Maybe they have, but I just thought that was interesting that even like years ago, like Patty had Taylor's back in that sense.
Definitely.
Much like kind of like Stevie Nicks in the same way of like you have this amazing artist. Like why do a lot of people just not respect that alone?
And who's gonna hold you like me? Nobody. No fucking body.
So I'm thinking this is like a coddling situation, right? Like you need to be, I don't know, like it's not. I don't view it as a precious thing, but it's like I feel sorry for you and I have to like protect you. Right? I don't know. It doesn't seem precious to me. It seems off.
That's
the way it's
true.
worded. I don't know why.
I never thought about that. I took it as the delicate. No one's gonna touch you like me, but you're right. No one's gonna hold you. Holding you is a little different. That's not necessarily a loving embrace. That's all come here. That's comforting and being there for someone.
Just like the word choice. Yeah, I guess I kind of even took it as like, yeah, we're not like I kind of see through your facade. It's kind of getting annoying, but at the end of it, I still want to be with you.
Yeah.
You know?
You smoked, then ate 7 bars of chocolate.
Iconic verse, let's just say.
So I took that as face value as someone smoked some weed and then got the munchies and ate a bunch of chocolate. But there is a 1975 song called 7 Bars of Chocolate, right?
It's just called
It's
chocolate.
called chocolate, yeah.
Oh.
It's just called chocolate, and it is probably one of, if not the, like their most popular song.
Okay.
From like an album from like 2014, 2015, and in the song "Chocolate," it's smoking weed essentially.
Okay.
So it's right, like you smoked and then ate 7 bars of chocolate. It's just a very, very direct, like this is Maddie Healy. You know what I mean? Like, I think.
I also saw some people speculate, like, did he get high and try to sing chocolate, but he didn't quite hit the note, so he ate it?
I think it's just a reference to the song "Chocolate" by the 1975.
I don't know. I did see someone. I mean, I do think we can just take what she said at face value, but there could be several double meanings in that line. Chocolate, like the 1975, 7 musical bars, and that he ate that. Like, like he did so well on it or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, you did.
That's funny.
It's just silly.
I also saw people on Reddit, someone asked, I wonder what his favorite chocolate is. One guess was Cadbury, which has to be the worst chocolate, right? Tattooed Golden Retriever on Reddit said, elsewhere, I've seen Kit Kat squares and 1 3/4 of them because 4 + 3 = 7 bars. But really, she just wants to make as many references to 1975 as she can. Joe Alwyn's widow on Reddit
These usernames.
said, these are the real questions we need answered. And Working Broccoli said, I can do it with a full stomach.
Just a funny thread altogether. Yeah, but I mean the song, yeah, Chocolate is about smoking weed. So, and I think, I mean, it's very flat out, like you smoked and then ate 7 bars. Which I think she's just setting the scene for this entire verse to be like, he's high.
Yeah.
We declared Charlie Puth to be a bigger artist, which Charlie Puth has now seen a boost since then.
Mm-hmm.
Got his name back in the media. Now he's working with people, including he's since worked with 1975.
Yeah, I don't know if that was before or after.
But so interesting.
Yeah.
It's great to for Taylor to name drop somebody and they're like, oh my gosh, thank you so much, Taylor. And then is giving credit to an incredible musician because, I mean, he is a great musician.
Right. But is it a backhanded compliment? Because she just said earlier that they're 2 idiots. And now they're saying, oh, yeah, Charlie Puth is really great.
Yeah, I also kind of wonder the same thing because also, like, when you're high and you're like, oh my God, Charlie Puth should be a bigger artist. You know what I mean? Like, is that, I kind of also wonder the same thing of like, is it a little bit backhand? I'm glad that he took it as a compliment. And and maybe the reason she included it is because it's a real thing that they said, you know?
Right. So
I don't know.
I cut you off.
No, that was the end of my thought.
Well, he said his first response was, Charlie Puth. My first thought was, there's no way this could be a thing. It's so random. But then again, I'm listening to the song and I'm like, it's not random. It's probably a real conversation that they had with a real conversation she had with somebody. And I thought to myself, why don't I get hyper specific in my lyrics ever? Because I'm so concerned about a song being a hit. Number one, I feel like I owe it to myself to make the song where people really know. Now I feel like I owe it to myself to make a song where people really know the true backstory of something. And so since then he's come out with, he didn't tag Taylor, but he was inferring that this new song Hero that he released was inspired by Taylor just singing about a conversation that she had. Sorry, that was a little,
like he was inspired to be more specific.
Yeah, just like Taylor, right?
Yeah, because I kind of wondered too. I was like, I wonder if that's just like a real like he did, like a real conversation they had, you know.
So I don't think that she cleared this. I mean, with Patty, with Dylan, with Charlie Puth, she's just name dropping everybody.
Yeah.
No heads up.
I scratched your head, you fall asleep like a tattooed golden retriever.
So Maddie Healy has a lot of tattoos. This we know. Calling him a golden retriever just feels so like blunt, I guess, while we're talking about weed. I guess it just feels like so unlike Taylor lyrics. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like saying like being like, oh, you fall asleep like a tattooed golden retriever. It's almost like unpoetic, but I think it's purposefully unpoetic because the entire song is about how they aren't these legendary poets.
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
She wrote "Spelling is Fun," so
which
I
would say that's poetic, Amy.
It's giving me those kinds of vibes.
To me, I kind of just thought like she's the whole point of the song is we're modern idiots. We're not these legendary poets. Like here are some lyrics that are just kind of ridiculous.
And
you know,
it doesn't seem to describe him either. Other than the tattoos, like I wouldn't pick him as a golden retriever.
No.
I have heard that though, like from like fans of his and like whatever, that he has like quote unquote golden retriever energy.
Okay.
Like he's just like love. Yes, he's just
Okay,
like tortured
so,
artist, like whatever, but he's like lovable and.
Let me just say, trustworthy is a quality in golden retrievers. I'm not seeing that. Eager to please, I'm not seeing that in him either. Okay, I'm done.
Do golden retrievers have tattoos?
Besides calling him a dog, I really don't understand this reference because golden retriever boyfriend is a term used to describe a romantic partner who has personality traits similar to the golden retriever breed. It's the exact opposite of the negative boyfriends. They're agreeable, they're affectionate, they're optimistic, they're fun. And Travis Kelce is a prime example of who people quote whenever they say golden retriever boyfriend. That's like a new term now because people want their Travis Kelce. They want someone who is supportive and shows up and willing to do something for their partner.
I did see that some people were kind of upset that she used that lyric already because they're like, oh man, that's a lyric she should have used on Travis.
Well, she even mentioned golden tattoo and dress. So even that has been used before. I mean, I know it's like different, but
Like, dang it.
and that was used for Joe.
Yeah, but I almost kind of feel like she's making fun of him because he thinks that he's this, legendary creative when she's like, no, you're just a little tattooed golden retriever.
Yeah.
I think it's a little belittling.
Oh, big time.
So, but remember the day that the album, like a few hours before the album came out, these lyrics leaked online. And a lot of people that do not like Taylor were using it as like ammo of like, this is who you guys claim is the songwriter of the century. These are the lyrics that you guys think are like revolutionary. And it's like taking out of context, it's like, yeah, that is kind of weird. But in the context of the song, I think it just kind of adds to the humor of it.
Yeah.
And you can't explain the Tortured Poets department to people who want to argue with you that it's not a good album.
Right.
Have you listened to it? Have you taken it in? Do you understand it?
Yeah.
So, yeah, some people want to listen and say, it's not my thing. Cool. Don't listen to it. It's not for you, honey.
Yeah.
Go
I don't
put
wanna,
1989 on repeat.
Right. Like, I don't want to waste my energy if you're not even willing to listen.
Yeah.
I scratch your head, you fall asleep like a tattooed golden retriever, but you awaken with dread, pounding nails in your head.
Hangover.
But I've read this one where you've come undone, and I chose this cyclone with you.
So I think kind of like it's the same storytelling of the first verse where it's like everything's good and dandy and this is kind of what she's thinking, but then he's moody, you know? But she chose this as well. But Maddie has talked a lot about how he struggles with constant nightmares and with migraines. So that's you awaken with dread being a nightmare, pounding nails in your head being a migraine.
Okay. I just figured because I mean the substance abuse that he's, I mean, I think is a thing that's been in the news, referring to that and drinking.
Yeah, I think hangover could also be.
Yeah.
I wake up every day confused. Because I'm such a deep sleeper, I guess, or maybe I'm just waking up in the wrong cycle, but I go from dreaming something random. Whenever y'all text me the other day, I woke up at like 10:30 and had to pick my secret songs, and I was like, I was just in a secret garden and I don't know what's going on right now. Like I woke up and checked my phone and I'm like, no, get that out of my head. Now I need to guess secret songs. I don't know. I relate to awaking with dread, I guess. I hate waking up, but it's so confusing. It takes me a good minute to like get out of my head and get out of what was just happening, even though it wasn't happening, but it feels so realistic whenever I'm sleeping. Or do y'all dream? Some people don't remember their dreams.
It depends. I do dream. Do I remember them all the time? No. But sometimes I don't know. I feel like I have different sleep cycles.
I'm just jealous that you slept till 10:30.
Yeah. Yeah. I do tend to have more vivid dreams when I nap. Like when I take a nap during the day, I feel like my dream is way weirder. But maybe it's because it's not a full REM cycle. But yeah.
And chose this cyclone with you. That just reminds me of the Karma music video where she's in Wizard of Oz. And then, of course, Wizard of Oz has the big cyclone.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I also saw somebody saying that it could also refer to like a cyclone, like a media storm, because when they did get together, it was a media frenzy. There was articles and think pieces and so much about like, oh my gosh, Taylor Swift, Maddie Healy, and so it could also just refer to like, but I chose this with you. Like we decided to do this together, like, brace the storm together until ultimately they didn't.
It's definitely hectic and a literal shit show. I mean, to choose this cyclone with you. That's definitely what she is saying.
But isn't it, I chose this cyclone.
Mm-hmm.
So it's her choice. I don't know that he necessarily was involved in the choice. Well, I mean, it's a relationship. I don't know. It's just in Florida, she says the hurricane with my name. So I'm wondering, like, it's always a storm around her.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't even have to do anything to do with him, even though he is a mess, obviously. I don't know.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
And then she goes back into the chorus. Who's going to hold you like me? Who's going to know you like me? I laughed in your face and said, you're not Dylan Thomas. I'm not Patti Smith. This ain't the Chelsea Hotel. We're modern idiots. And who's going to hold you like me? No fucking body.
So here's something that I did not catch until I was researching for this episode. In the background vocals and during that part, the who's going to hold you like me, who's going to, like in the background parts, after no fucking body, nobody, who's going to hold you, who's going to love you, who's going to troll you.
Yes.
Did you know that was the lyric?
I did not.
I think when I listen to the song, I get to the point where I'm singing along and I'm like, of course, I'm doing the backup vocals. I didn't know that the lyric was who's going to troll you. I think that is so important because this entire song is her trolling him.
Yes.
So by being like, but if we're not together, if I leave, like, who's going to love you? Who's going to hold you? Who's going to troll you? Who's going to make fun of you? Like, here's this entire song where I'm like, that's exactly what I'm doing. When I was looking at the lyrics, I was like, wait a second. I did not know that was like a small little change in the background vocals, but I think it's a very important thing to notice.
I did not pick up on that. Thank you, Anna.
Mm-hmm.
Then we get to the bridge. Sometimes I wonder if you're going to screw this up with me. But you told Lucy you'd kill yourself if I ever leave. And I had said that to Jack about you, so I felt seen. So, who's Lucy? Lucy is allegedly Lucy Dacus and the band Boy Genius with Phoebe Bridgers. When opening for the Eras tour, Phoebe brought out her band. And then back in September, Matt Healy had tweeted, I told Lucy Dacus that Boy Genius had inspired me and George to start a new band called Girl R Word. I don't really hear that from her often. And Lucy quickly responded with a short but sweet, you don't hear from me at all.
Right.
And within hours, Maddie replied, yeah, this never goes well. And then deleted his account on Twitter. So is that the Lucy that she's referencing? We know they've had some sort of relationship or in the same circles. And then I said that to Jack about you, so I felt seen. Assuming she's referring to Jack Antonoff.
Mm-hmm. Which I think is also important to note that Jack Antonoff has also produced music for the 1975. Their most recent album, Being Funny in a Foreign Language from 2022, Jack Antonoff produced a heavy amount of that album. So as a producer, I can only imagine that Jack hears both.
Oh, I'm sure.
Both sides, right? Like he kind of hears everything she's going through. He hears everything he's going through. He's kind of this like middleman hearing all of it. And then most recently, he worked with the 1975 again in 2024 on the song Now Is the Hour, which is for a new series on Apple TV called The New Look, where Jack Antonoff, I think, is doing the whole soundtrack, I think.
Oh.
And so like, Jack Antonoff is very close to Taylor, has worked with Maddie, like, the, rumors of, was Maddie working on Midnights? Like, it all just kind of runs in the same, in the same circle, yeah.
Ooh. We've said, like, whose secrets would you want to know? And I think I've said Tree Payne before, because Tree Payne has to know a lot. But now I think I want to know Jack Antonoff's secrets.
I'm sure he knows a lot.
I mean, just insider information. What does he know? Because you're right. He has to hear a lot of it and probably not always voice his opinion. It's like, oh, okay, Maddie. Yeah, let's go ahead and record now.
But I think that's also why she says everyone we know understands why it's meant to be, because their friends probably hear both of them talking about it, Yeah.
And because we're crazy.
Yeah.
That line gets to me because, to me, like, she had to convince her friends, no, this is a good thing. We get each other. We're meant to be together. And then they're on board with it. And they understand, even though the outside doesn't understand. They're like, yeah, this makes sense. I know what people are saying, but y'all do go well together, and this is a good relationship, and I support you, Taylor.
I kind of wonder if, like, because when I sing along to the song, I kind of sing that line sarcastically. Mm-hmm. Like, everyone knows why it's meant to be, because we're crazy. Yeah, like, ooh, we're so crazy. We're these, like, tortured artists, tortured poets. Ooh, we're so crazy. Like, I kind of always thought it was a bit sarcastic.
But then in Daddy, I Love Him, whenever she's saying, like, she finally got her parents on board, but everybody's still trolling her, but it's over now, so don't worry about it. Mm-hmm. So I think that's why I'm making that comparison.
No, I still think, I agree with you. Like, I do think that at some point, like, their friends had to be like, okay, yeah, we can see it.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like maybe I just don't get this song, because I found out it was sarcastic yesterday.
No, you do.
So that's why I'm like, no, really, this is what she meant, Anna. But no, you're right, because we're crazy.
No, I mean, but we don't know. Like, everything we've said in this entire episode is just our own opinion and assumptions. Yeah. Like, none of this is factual.
She did say about the album, it's fatalistic. And so this is bringing the drama to the song. We're so crazy. Yeah, definitely.
So tell me who else is going to know me. At dinner, you take my ring off my middle finger and put it on the one people put wedding rings on. And that's the closest I've come to my heart exploding.
See, that hurts me so much. Under the assumption that that's something that, like, actually happened. Like, we know how much Taylor values marriage, like, because, she's, like, sung about it and talked about it, and, like, we know it's something that, like, she's not just, like, a lot of celebrities, I feel like, just in pop culture in general, like super rich celebrities, they get married, they get divorced, they get married, they get divorced, like, oh, whatever, like they have the money to do that. Like Taylor Swift, yes, she's dated people trying to, like, you know, find her happily ever after, but she's not that type of celebrity that, like, gets married, gets divorced, gets married, gets divorced. So I feel like for her, like, marriage is something sacred. And so for someone that, like, you have this chaotic, self-harm, fatalistic, like, type of relationship telling you, oh, like, finally we're soulmates, finally we're going to be together, and you're at dinner and he takes your ring off of your middle finger and puts it on, like, your ring finger. Oh my God. Like, that's for anyone to do that, regardless. If you're, like, in a very regular, normal people relationship and the person you're seeing does that, like, alluding to, like, we're going to get married together, like, that's so hurtful to, like, not be serious about it. You know?
It reminds me of whenever people, sorry, I say people, people, they film themselves doing the kneel, or they don't even have to film it. They do the kneel, but they're just, like, tying their shoe, or they're finding other excuse to make you think that I'm proposing, but I'm not proposing. It's something else. And, oh, it's so funny. It's not funny.
Right.
It's hurtful.
And you have to look at her best friends, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. I mean, talking about the Hollywood norms of marriage, or even the regular norms of marriage. People get married and divorced all the time. Shout out. But Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively have been together for a really long time, are still madly in love, still hang out all the time, still having kids. And so those are the people that she hangs out with, the ones who have found their person, or seems to have. So, I mean, yeah, it is a big deal to her because she hangs out with people that are still in love after a long time, and that's not always the case. So that is what she wants and what she idolizes. They have the great family, the great relationship. She's good friends with the kids. She's Auntie Taylor.
Yeah. I think it's just so hurtful for the assumed muse of this song to do that. Under the assumption that it actually happened. It, of course, could just be her dramatic writing. We don't know, but that hurts.
We see the hurt.
Yes.
Whether it happened or not.
Right. We get the message.
Yeah.
Several times in this album. Several times. And then she just repeats, who's going to hold you? Me. Who's going to know you? Me. You're not Dylan Thomas. I'm not Patti Smith. This ain't the Chelsea Hotel. We're two idiots. Who's going to hold you? Because you left my typewriter. You left your typewriter at my apartment, straight from the tortured poets department. Who else decodes you?
I'm so curious in the process of, like, do you think she wrote the song and then decided to call the album The Tortured Poets Department, or vice versa?
I don't know.
I wonder that with, like, I guess all of the albums that have title tracks. What came first? Like, the idea for the, like, title of the album, or the song? I just have so many questions.
It is funny, though, that is Joe Alwyn's WhatsApp name of him in the group, and then the song doesn't even seem to be about him. Yeah. Because we just thought it was going to be straight shots fired, and it is, but not for the most part, at her ex, Joe Alwyn. Well, that's it for the Tortured Poets Department song title breakdown song breakdown. But I do have a few voicemails to share. We have a really sweet listener, Grady, that called her voicemail to share a theory with us.
Hello, 13 Podcast. This is Grady from Pittsburgh. Now, I'm a pretty hardcore Swiftie, but I've never been to the tour, unfortunately. I'm the only Swiftie in my family. And not many of my friends are as hardcore Swiftie as I am. And so listening to this podcast is like having a Swiftie friend there. I love it. I love all of you guys. And I just saw that in Milan, night 2, I was watching the live stream, Taylor Swift debuted a new Speak Now dress. And we know that in Milan, night 1, she debuted a new Fearless dress. So I just thought of a theory in my head that in Milan, night 1, a Fearless dress. Milan, night 2, Speak Now dress. Then a new red outfit, a new 1989 outfit, a new Reputation outfit, and then with that new Reputation outfit, there would be a Reputation Taylor version. Now, I love clowning, and this is probably not true, but It's just a theory that went into my brain, and I decided, hey, why don't I tell you guys? Bye. I love you guys so much.
Love you too, Grady. I'm forever a clown. And that's a really good theory. We haven't gotten a rollout of new outfits yet, but are they on the way?
Mm-hmm.
There's a theory on TikTok when she comes out in her all green 1989. That's going to be announcement day. I've heard debutation. I've heard reputation. 2 different theories and dates on that.
Yeah, I definitely agree that there's a reason she's been wearing the same Reputation bodysuit this entire time.
For sure.
You know, like I'm definitely on board with that. And I think about it sometimes like, do you just remember that thrill of seeing her like the blue outfits the night that she announced 1989? And when she showed up in the blue 1989 outfit, like I feel like I constantly seek that feeling. And I will only experience it again if she does a new Reputation outfit.
I think that's Swift Talk every single weekend whenever they're clowning for a Reputation announcement. We also have a voicemail from Luis from Melbourne. He gave us a call while he was on his first trip to America ever.
Oh.
And he could not wait to tell us what he was up to.
Hey, 13 Taylor Swift fan podcast. My name is Lewis. I'm from Melbourne, Australia. I'm 27 years old, but I'm actually calling from New York at the moment. And while I was on a, roughly similar time zone to y'all, I thought I'd just give you guys a call. I also wanted to shout out while I was in New York, I've tried to do as much of a Swift spotting, Swift Easter eggs IRL in real life. Obviously, the first thing I did was actually go to Times Square and post on my Instagram story, welcome to New York. And then I went and visited the High Line, referencing Cardigan. I went to the Chelsea Hotel, and there's even a little plaque there that references Dylan Thomas. That's pretty cool. I went to I think it's called the Housing Works bookstore, which is in the All Too Well music video. Of course, I went to Cornelia Street, which is just a very small street, but I just felt like I was walking the same footpath as did Taylor Swift once upon a time. And I went to Coney Island, which was really sweet. And I felt like I was sitting on a bench on Coney Island, wondering, did Taylor Swift sit on this bench? I love your surprise song prediction game. And maybe it's a guy thing, but every time that you guys have had a dispute over who should be awarded what points for what, I find myself just logically agreeing with Nick every time. The way that Nick approaches probably what should have been awarded points or what should be given, a bonus point or a half point, or whether the song was in the set list, or should we make a rule change to that change. Just have to say, find myself agreeing with Nick every time. Oh, and Nick's actually been starring lately with the surprise song predictions. He's upped his game. Otherwise, I was always impressed with how y'all come up. Look at me saying y'all. I'm a New Yorker already. How you guys come up with the very accurate predictions many times. And I just love playing along myself at home. All right, cool. I leave back to Melbourne very soon, but I feel blessed being on the same time zone as you guys, and maybe one day I'll make it down to, where are you guys, Texas or something? Maybe next time I'm in America, I'll come say hi. But this is my first time in America, and this is an absolute hoot. All right, bye.
That was so sweet. Yeah. I loved hearing him say y'all. I noticed it the first time, and then when he called it out too, look at me saying y'all. That was so cute.
Yeah, Luis, you're going to need to come down to Texas because that's really where y'all came from.
Exactly.
Yeah. So come see us next time. We are in Dallas, Texas. You can always leave us a voicemail on our Google phone number, 689-214-1313. That is Reputation 89. Valentine's Day 1313.
Do we have a voicemail set up?
Coming soon. All right, for the 13 podcast, I'm Lacey.
Oh, wow. Wow, it's been a minute. I'm Anna.
I'm Amy.
Yay!
Can it die now, though?
Hey, I haven't done it in a long time. I was I didn't know how to end this thing. That's a joke because I don't know how to end it.
Well, what are we talking about next week?
My boy only breaks his favorite toys. We're going to be breaking that down next week, so join us next week as we continue to break down the Tortured Poets Department.
You're so tortured. Thanks for listening to 13, a Taylor Swift fan podcast. Subscribe for free and leave a positive review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Google Podcasts.